Hi guys, this is another little random bit of awesome that we're doing, where we did the John Wick 9 to 5 video. Did you see that? That random. We called it. We did a video and we called it the random bit of awesome.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking about making that a weekly thing where we just take a random video off the internet that I just happen to think of, and I put it out here. So the whole brouhaha that came by with the UFC, UFC 229, the whole big fight that happened between not Anthony Pettis, but between Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov. And of course, Khabib Nurmagomedov won. There's no disputing that or anything like that. If they
I actually got to watch that live. My buddy pay-per-viewed it while I was down there. So
nice.
It was kind of cool.
Yeah, for me and
my buddy were rooting for Conor to an extent.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, honestly, you root for who you want to.
Yeah.
Me, I didn't care who won. I was just happy to see these two finally fight because, Khabib is Khabib, who is a monster.
It's mostly just that we were like, underdog technically. Conor was technically the underdog in that fight because Khabib was just undefeated.
Well, undefeated, and rightfully so. The man is a monster.
Yeah.
I mean, how he fight, eventually someone's going to have to figure out how to negate his takedowns and his wrestling because he's just so strong.
Well, he said he was going to retire after that if he won, so I don't think anybody's going to have a chance.
No, he's not going to retire. He's not just going to retire after fighting Conor McGregor once. If he doesn't fight Tony Ferguson next, I'm going to, a lot of people are going to call for the rematch between him and Conor. That's fine. If you want to see that again, okay, let's see that again.
Ferguson the one that said he was going to fight whoever won that match?
Yeah.
And, he won.
Did
he win his match while he was there, too? Yeah.
Yeah. That's Tony Ferguson. And Tony Ferguson...
I can't remember. What was that? Was that the really, really good fight?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the two guys
that
who
was
just
a
went at each
badass
other.
Fight.
I know, dude. Tony goes, man. Tony, his stand-up is wicked. And he's so long, and he's got such a huge reach, and he's so tall. That's one thing people don't realize about him. He's almost like I think he's actually just about 6 feet tall, if not a little bit taller. And Khabib is only 5'10", I believe. Mm-hmm. And he's got Tony has got a huge reach, and also Tony has great ground game, sick ground game. I mean, if there's one person on the ground who I think could actually stand a chance against him, it's Tony. Tony Ferguson is just such a bad, and he's not afraid to fight anybody, dude. There was a time where a heavyweight, Fabricio Verdum, him and Fabricio were sitting next to each other at a signing. Fabricio Verdum is about 6'4", 6'5", weighs about, 240, 250. And they started talking shit to each other back and forth in Spanish because because I don't know, I guess Fabricio said something to him, and eventually it got to where Tony's just like, don't talk shit to me, man. Just because I'm little, don't talk shit to me. And eventually they stood up and had to be separated by security. Tony's not afraid to fight anybody. He will fight literally anybody. He's El Cucuy. He's one of the baddest men on the planet, and I wouldn't fuck with him. I mean, he'd tie me up in a knot and beat my head in a hamburger.
If I worked security and had to separate two dudes like that, I would be terrified.
Well, honestly,
I feel like this is not going to end well.
The guys aren't going to fight security. This isn't like pro wrestling where you're just
I guess it's just security's just doing their job.
Yeah, security's there to keep everybody safe, keep everybody from getting hurt, protect them just in case somebody comes in with a knife or a gun and stuff like that. Yeah, that's all well and good. But honestly, if Khabib doesn't, if he decides, okay, I'm going to retire now, then that's just going to just tarnish everything that he's done. I mean, yeah, he'll retire 26-0, but 3 times he's been scheduled to fight Tony Ferguson. 2 times Khabib had to drop out because of weight cutting issues, and the 3rd time was because Tony Ferguson had a freak incident where he tore his, I believe his PCL clean off the bone in a trip. He tripped over a cable, and he tore his PCL clean off the bone. It had to be reattached and all that, and he came back. A lot of doctors said he came back too quick. But he came back, and he did really good against Anthony Pettis. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't mind seeing, as soon as, if Tony Ferguson wins in dominating fashion, I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch between him and Pettis, because that was a barnstormer of a fucking fight. Because Pettis can go, too. Pettis when he has a good training camp, he's one of the best in the world. It's just he's in a murderer's row of a fucking division.
Yeah.
I mean, the lightweight division right now is as strong as it's ever been because you got Eddie Alvarez, you got Khabib, you got Conor, you got Tony, you got Anthony Pettis, you got Kevin. It's gonna irk me that I can't remember his name.
Welcome to my world.
Huh?
Welcome to my world.
But yeah, you got a whole bunch of killers in that division, and they're all hungry. They're all wanting that belt. And honestly, for me, the 155-pound division is probably the best division in terms of like the best fights right now. And an example of this is this fight right here. This is a highlight video between Gilbert Melendez and Diego Sanchez. Gilbert Melendez is the guy with the crazy curly hair right here, and Diego is bald over here. That's how you'll be able to tell them apart. Okay. So anyway, these two are just warriors. They love to stand up and fight and just watch. This is probably the best. This was probably the best 3-round fight I've ever seen.
Here we go.
The energy that's.
Brought to you by Paramount Pictures and MTV. Head kick by Gilbert, taken down by Diego. Diego's hook off of him, trying to lock it in. And he got it. Yeah, nicely done by Gilbert. Gilbert takes some good punches to the body. Whipped that punch to the body. Good leg kick by Diego. Nice. Oh, and on the knee and two. Diego throws hard shots, but he's a bit more stiff. How smooth and precise he can be as a striker. Big right hand by Gilbert. Diego biting down on the mouthpiece. With the hips, nice. Again, beautiful shots.
Got a bit of a cut there.
He might be sensing something.
Something about Diego. Diego gets cut really easily.
Head kick. Both guys have worked the body.
Damn.
Oh!
It's going to conclude with a flurry. Wow.
That's a fight.
He's been cut many times.
They're both just like, let's end this right now.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go right now. Come on.
There they go again. Wow.
Yeah!
Got through. And a nice right hand by Gilbert. Hope to see when you have these two warriors go out. You know what? There's some fights that we think.
And the ref stops it
Your total strikes landed in the fight.
because Diego's got a cut.
Yeah.
Look at, oh man, look at that.
I don't know if this has happened more than a few times in UFC, but I've seen something like this happen before.
What we are seeing tonight.
What? The face just.
Yeah, where somebody's like face got so cut open on their brow
Yeah.
that they had to stop the match for a second.
Yeah, they've done that a lot. That happens a lot in fight, especially with fighters who get cut a lot.
It was bleeding again.
Like the Diaz brothers are the worst for that. They get cut really easily because of how much scar tissue they got.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good sprawl. Nice knee. Beautiful. Mission or strikes just by a cut.
Talk about dudes trying to save their stamina while they're doing this stuff, and these guys are just like,
oh, they never stop.
Going and going and going.
Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
3 rounds just like this all the time. Rapid fire, dude.
Their stamina is like infinite.
Yeah. Fucking warriors, dude.
This is amazing. Sanchez is a savage. They're going to check the cut.
They're going to check the cut again, yeah. Listen to the crowd. They're like,
Everybody's
don't
"Oh,
stop
fuck
this.
you."
Let him go. Let him go.
Yeah. Look at that guy. Yeah.
Kick to the body. Climbing the ribs again. In the third and final round. Nice leg kick by Diego. Dancing Diego. That right hand flush. Oh man, this is madness. This is madness. As is Gilbert. Oh, Diego caught him in the right. No disrespect, champ, in the Swede.
Ooh.
Takes it back. Looks for the choke.
Diego's trying to shock the world. Because at the time, Gilbert Melendez was seen as like one of the best fighters in the world at 155, if not the best.
I don't know why he went for a choke there instead of just laying into his head, because I'm pretty sure they would have gave him the TKO.
Beautiful job by Diego. 30 seconds, Joe. 20 seconds.
Look at this. Look at that. Yeah. Swing it out, boys.
Nobody's even blocking. They're just like, who can punch the other one faster the most times? Is that Joe?
Yeah, that's Joe Rogan. Yeah, Joe was on commentary that night. He said so far...
He commented for the Conor and Khabib fight, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, he said this fight, for him, was the best fight of all time. For Joe Rogan, that this is his favorite fight of all time. For me, this is my favorite 3-round fight of all time. My favorite 5-round fight of all time, I know this is going to piss some people off out there, but Rory McDonald versus Robbie Lawler 2. That one was probably one of the most brutal exhibitions I've ever seen in terms of what a person is willing to take to be crowned champion. Both men were so bad off. Like, Robbie Lawler had a gash in his lip up to almost his nose. Ugh. And his lip was flopping up like that. It was horrible.
That sucks.
And then Rory McDonald, actually, his nose was so badly broken. The internal chamber of his nose, that nasal cavity on the inside, it was actually broken and was tilted. And it was tilted to the side, and his nose was gone pretty much by the end of the fight.
Damn.
And they both went to the hospital after, and it was... Whew,
makes my face hurt to think about.
Yeah, I know. I saw the fight live, and to me, nothing signified more how much they wanted it than at the end of the 4th round. At the end of the 4th round, this was right as Robbie got the cut on his lip. They like swing to the finish. And as they swing to the finish, Robbie has a mouthful of blood, and the the horn sounds for the end of the round, and Robbie just like dragon mist spits the blood out all over the ring. And then starts, and as you know, whenever the bell rings, you're supposed to go back to your corners. Both men were standing there and just started like walking towards each other slowly. And the ref was but neither man was backing down, and the ref actually had to like step in again, like actually push them apart. It was like, oh, those are two guys who wanted to win. Those are two guys who wanted to fight, and I love that. That's what there's some people out there who consider this a brutal sport. It is. But it's a sport that people delight in taking part in. I've seen people who have given up careers in, like, for instance, 2 people gave up careers in modeling. Alan Jouban and Michelle Watterson both gave up careers, like full-fledged contract careers in modeling because they had the will to fight. They wanted to fight. They wanted to take part in this.
Yeah.
And they did, and Michelle Watterson became a champion. Alan Jouban, he's not as successful, but he is still maintaining a good career on his own. And
I can weirdly see the appeal because it was mainly when I played the UFC games finally.
Yeah.
And they started putting them out, and they were really good games. Like, they're not done like you would expect, like a UFC game to be done. They were done with some intelligence and some thought behind it. It was more of a simulator than anything.
Yeah, yeah.
And that really made me want to an extent, be like, dude, I want to get into fighting, and it was just kind of like me just down talking myself and being like, no, you're not in shape enough, to even get started.
No one who starts is
you
in
have
shape
no
enough.
previous like fighting experience. It was like if I had some like martial arts training earlier in my life, I might work towards something like this. But I feel like now being like almost 30, it's almost pointless for me to try to do that.
Well, at the professional level, I would say yes, but I would say it's not too late to try to some degree because, well, you and I have talked about going into pro wrestling to some degree.
Yeah. Like
training and doing some like stuff maybe on the weekends or like an odd show every now and again where we'd like job out to some guys, who would be like big talent and they'd need somebody to, make them look good and everything. Mm-hmm. And then eventually we could build up and, try and do something else with it. Hell, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Diamond Dallas Page, had never wrestled a match before he started training to be a wrestler when he was 35. And he went on to become one of the best of all time, in my opinion. He was very, I mean, and you know what he mainly got by on? His talk, his ability to talk and his ability to just to entertain. That was always one thing he had about him. And you see, some of the best guys out there aren't really like extroverts. A lot of people imagine like Hulk Hogan, is like, oh, Hulkamania's running wild on you, brother.
Yeah.
But then you look at CM Punk, who actually is an introvert. CM Punk's an introvert. If he had his choice, he'd sit around and watch wrestling videos and read comic books all day.
Yeah.
That's what he loves doing that. But because
I remember my buddy that I worked with at FYE saying that CM Punk was basically like his favorite wrestler and arguably the best wrestler of all time whenever he was actually wrestling.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say he's the best wrestler of all time. I'd say in terms of
but some people had that opinion of him at least.
Well, of course. No. There are people who can have their opinion of that. But me personally, I see him as a hell of a stopping post. Like, determining the greatest wrestler of all time is a very difficult thing to do. You have to think of what did they change, was it for the better, and how long have they maintained relevant and in the spotlight, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, probably the best wrestler of all time is Ric Flair. Because the man single-handedly kept the NWA afloat during the 70s and 80s. Because he kept touring all over the country and fighting the champions of all the other organizations and keeping the other organizations like big because hey, it's just like, hey, Ric Flair's coming to town. Oh God, I can't wait to see. I want to see him lose so bad. And on those rare occasions that Ric Flair wanted to put a local guy over, he would lose. He would legitimately lose the belt. No shenanigans or nothing like that. He would lose in the ring 1, 2, 3, and he would put over a local guy as NWA champion, and that person would tour as NWA champion for a little while, and then Ric Flair would get it back and then proceed to do the same thing over and over and over again. He did that for 2 decades, and he was and a lot of people out there say, "Oh, he's a 16-time world champion." They've actually counted. He's actually more than 20 because of how many times he gave up the belt to local guys who wanted to, strengthen their territory. Yeah. Now, you can say what you want about Ric Flair, he's a philandering, terrible husband and, a deadbeat dad and all that. The man may not be the best father of all time. The man may not be the best husband of all time. Hell, he might not even be the best person of all time. But to me personally, I can't think of anyone out there who has had more of an impact on the business than one Richard Flair.
Separating the art from the artist kind of thing. It's like you can appreciate what he did for wrestling without appreciating him as a person.
Well, no, I appreciate him as a person to some degree because he's a wild man. Even almost at 70 years old, he is still as wild as a buck. I mean, he's just all over the place. He doesn't drink as much and he doesn't do drugs anymore. That's one thing he had to stop. And his recent heart condition that he recently got treatment for, yeah, he's toning it down a lot. He's still working out, he's still staying in shape, but he's nowhere near like as wild as he was. But
are we doing this as like a bonus reaction video?
We were, and
now it's going to be like 30 minutes
18
long?
minutes. No, it's 18 minutes.
Okay.
But anyway, guys, everyone out there, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. This was a random bit of awesome. We went a little bit longer with this than I expected, so hope you enjoy this. And until next time, signing off, I'm Nate.
And I'm Nick.
And we'll see you later, everyone. Peace out.